Broadcasting the information the mainstream media won't touch. This is The Richie Allen Show in association with DavidIke.com.
Now, just under 2 weeks ago, Victoria Lilly, terrific human rights activist and a great friend of ours based at Salford, or in Salford in Manchester, Greater Manchester, came on the programme to talk about our first guest. Now, he was sentenced to 16 weeks in prison earlier this year, early in February or late January, it must have been, under the Serious Crime Act, because he posted a rant on YouTube about an incredibly lenient sentence for a, well, I don't know how I should say it here. Should I editorialise? Well, let's just say a despicable paedophile, a man with over 3,000 very, 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 very disturbing images of child sex abuse on his computer. Some of them were the worst type of images. Really, really bad. My first guest tonight didn't like that. A lot of people didn't. Went on YouTube and had his say. After thinking about it, and thinking that maybe he should have held his water, he took it down. He wasn't asked to take it down, he took it down. And not many people had seen it, less than 20 people had seen it. However, he was still prosecuted under the Serious Crime Act, was found guilty and sentenced to 16 weeks in prison. Thankfully, though, on appeal, the conviction was quashed, and on Friday morning last, he was set free, told to go home, thankfully, from Warrington Court. And he joins me on the line now. Ben Deevoy, it's a pleasure, mate. It really is to be talking to you.
Thank you for having me on, Richie. And listen, I just want to say, I made quite an angry video.
What did you say in the video, Ben?
Well, I made threats to a guy called Leon Evans. I was reading the newspaper in a 2-minute video I made from my own living room. I was reading the newspaper, which comes under Sarah's law and the right to know where paedophiles are, etc. About a paedophile that had 3,000 indecent images and pleaded guilty to it, of children, 214 of which are the most serious category A type. Now, I dread to think what that entails. I literally dread to think. But this man was given a suspended sentence, and the Crown said in summing up that they wished to help him. What was it? They wish the probation, etc., would alleviate him from his problem. Now, it's quite simple. His problem is that he fancies children and that he should be locked away from them. And can I just say, I in no way whatsoever support any kind of vigilante justice. It literally was that I went on and I was angry. I'd just woken up and I basically ran out of things to say on a video and I just lost my temper. I was just that angry that a judge could give a paedophile a suspended sentence.
And before you knew it, you'd posted it and it was out there.
Yeah, it was a live stream as well, you see. So it literally went on live. And I did take it down. And like you said, I did take it down. I took it down off my own back under no pressure. I took it down 2 days later and the police arrested me nearly 3 weeks later.
So 3 weeks...
with the intent to actually carry out some kind of offence.
Right, so 3 weeks after...
On the video, I was actually called in for the man's address. And I know, but I just want to say, for the sake of radio, I don't seek his address. But his address was actually in the paper.
The address had been published, in the paper.
I didn't see it until after I'd made the video. But of course, I didn't go back and make a new video, right, I've got his address, let's go and get him. Because that wasn't my real thinking. And the way that the judicial scene... the judiciary... has seen me more as a danger than him to society is an absolute farce.
Yeah. You know, I did say when I was talking about it that regardless of what somebody has done, I personally don't believe in violence, and I completely accept your version of events because it coincides with what I was told by other people.
The Crown Court eventually did.
Yeah, of course.
I am not guilty.
Yeah. Now, that's very important, of course. It's important. But I want to establish the timeline because this is sinister. So you posted the video. Yeah. You had second thoughts about it. You're, I'm not patronising you, but you're a smart guy. You said to yourself, right, that's not too clever. I'll take it down.
Yeah, so, it wasn't a very clever idea to post threats online about anyone really. Nobody should be there to make threats. But furthermore, we should have a judicial system that is protecting children in our communities. and not just letting paedophiles free to walk the streets unpunished on
Now,
suspended sentences.
hang on a second. You're going to get plenty of time to say that. I'm not just bringing you on for a couple of minutes. So I just want to establish this. This is really important. So when you were arrested after 3 weeks after you taken a video down, what exactly was, presumably you were interviewed. So what did they say at the interview? What were they most concerned with?
Well, I went silent on my interview. I don't even justify them with no comment when I do go no comment. But my solicitor told me in an interview, and it quite amused me, is that they were like a begging boy because they kept asking the same question probably 10 times, not 3 or 4 times like normal, but they literally, it was a 2-hour interview of me staying silent.
I can imagine that was fun. Yeah. So you didn't say anything.
That was at the end of a weekend of them keeping me in. They kept me in the entire weekend. They actually arrested me after being found not guilty for a breach of the peace arrest that was made at the Tory conference.
Yes. Now we have to remember that we can't assume knowledge. Our listeners won't know. Ben is an activist. He takes part in social justice protests, anti-fracking protests, and like many people who do that, they sometimes get their collar felt and they get arrested. He's not a career criminal, must be said. The man is an activist, so he would be known to the police. And this is interesting. This all goes to the heart of what's going on. Yes.
I've been targeted in this. My channel that I post videos on, albeit one of them, is being subscribed to by the police because it's got police content on there. I deal with the police on quite a regular basis at protests, and I film them. Now, this obviously has got their attention, and they've subscribed to my channel, and there is no victim here. The paedophile, Leon Evans, he hasn't made a complaint that I've made threats against him. The police have just seen it and taken it upon themselves to charge me under the Serious Crimes Act, which is quite a unique act in itself, as basically inciting some kind of riot against the paedophile.
Yeah, it was introduced last year, the Serious Crimes Act of 2015, or it was amended last year.
Yeah, and it wasn't actually used. Technically, it's under 2007, but it's never actually been used. I'm the first one since the London riots to be charged under it.
You're right, 2007 and amended last year. Now, this is important. Let's talk about this. I said, when I heard about this, I said that if I never would be, but if I was a magistrate and I was hearing this, I would be inclined to say to you or to anybody else in that position, listen, Ben, not clever, regardless of what somebody has done, don't say anything that might cause somebody else who's got a few screws loose to go and hurt the guy. Don't do it again, Ben. Smack on the wrist.
And that's
job
why it's
done.
important for me to reiterate that I in no way support vigilante justice. What I do call for is this man and all paedophiles that have been given suspended sentences to be resentenced. Their sentencing is not correct, and the law is letting these paedophiles, these nonces, these scum of society, they're letting them walk our streets, letting them do the school run, and they're free to reoffend. This is not justice for children that have been sexually abused, and they're not even of an age where they can defend themselves.
Well, do you know what, Ben? As you said, because obviously I looked into it, the man had over 200 of the most vile images, and those images...
214 category A type, and I dread to think what that...
Well, we know what category A type is. Category A type are images of children being subjected to grotesque sexual acts by adult men or women. So this
man was also working at McDonald's at the time, and I found that out by pure coincidence at a later date.
If ever a guy was a threat to society and a threat to children, this was the guy.
Yeah.
Let's be fair about it.
And he should have been locked up. If you ask me, these paedophiles should be given life sentences. Anyone that has anything to do with this type of crime, with child abuse, should be given 20, 25 years. Do not pass go.
Can I ask you a question? It's a personal question. You do not have to answer it at all. And you certainly do not have. Have you had any experience in terms of friends or family, maybe personal experience with that, with abuse?
Certainly not a personal experience, but I think everyone knows someone that has gone through child abuse, and I certainly do. I won't name who that person is or how close they are to me, or there's many, you know, and it happened when they were young as well. Pretty much all of them.
How did you feel when they sent you down for 16 weeks? What went through your mind at the time?
You know what? I was actually prepared for injustice, because I know what they are, and I know who they are, and I know the way they're playing it, and I know why they're targeting me, and I know they're all part of the same system. And in the video, I attacked Freemasons and judges.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a quick question on that? Well, this is really important.
And I knew they were going to send me down, and I was prepared for it. But at the same time, I don't expect justice. I will always demand it, Richie.
Let me ask you this. This is important. You mentioned this to me earlier on. The judge who heard your case, the judge who sent you to prison for 16 weeks, is it? Don't name the guy. I'll ask you not to name him, even though it doesn't really matter. But I'll ask you not to name him because I'm looking into this. Is it true that the judge who heard your case, that you had squatted on land owned by his brother at one stage or another?
Yeah, it was the judge that let this nonce off. Can I name him?
No, hang on a second. Before you name him, I want to get something straight because I might have misunderstood you today. Is it the judge who let the paedophile off?
Yeah, it's the judge that let the paedophile off.
Right, his brother had land that you squatted on.
That's right.
Right, okay. I thought it was the judge who heard your case, in which case he should recuse himself. Right, okay. Right, fair enough, right.
That
doesn't really mean anything.
Let this judge let this nonce off.
Right, okay.
With a suspended sentence. At the time, I was actually squatting on his brother's land. The reason I was squatting on his brother's land, Spears Dutton, is because Spears Dutton sold land to IGAS. And we occupied this field, the farmer's field, before IGAS got there. And we've blockaded it for 2 years. We've just actually lost in eviction, and they've got us off. And then IGAS have decided they don't want to take it anyway. But listen, we've done a company's check under Spears Dutton, and he actually owns the Freemasons Lodge in Chester.
How interesting.
Right?
How
he
interesting.
owns it, and his brother is this Crown Court judge that's letting nonces off. To own a Freemasons Lodge, surely that makes you Grand Master, doesn't it?
Well, it probably does, number one. But what I'm interested in staying with for the minute is how a judge can think that a guy possessing the images that he possessed, and, you know, these are some horrendous images, how it's a fitting sentence to turn him out on the streets, and why there wouldn't be an outcry in, you know, we expect it from the tabloids, but why the broadsheet press wouldn't be all over that, because it isn't contempt of court. If you don't have anything to do with the court case yourself, if you're not a party,
no, I didn't have anything to do.
You
with
didn't.
the
So
court
you're allowed
case,
to criticise the judge in the judgment, of course. Yeah. Tell me this, Ben. Tell me this. How did you? I mean, being banged up like that. I mean, how do you deal with that? What's it like being in there for 5 weeks for something?
Well, it's not
ridiculous?
nice.
No.
You know, but I can't thank people enough for the level of support I've got. Do you know, I've had postcards from people in Australia and things like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to know there's a campaign going on outside, that I'm inside while a nonce is walking the streets on a suspended. You can take something out of that, because there's a campaign going on, and you know that listen, like I said, I wasn't expecting justice, and this is the only way really to do it, is for them to be stupid enough to jail me for 5 weeks. When they're letting, do you know what I mean? When
it's
they're
mad,
letting off, it's
I can
crazy.
I can hear even now you're still actually struggling to come to terms with the logic of it. I mean, to let a guy like that out in the streets and then to bang a guy up like you. So
Yeah.
tell me about the case on Friday. Now, there's always a risk to making an appeal, Ben, because if it goes against you.
I was half expecting to actually get my sentence increased.
Go on.
Me and my legal team didn't think we'd win. Do you know what's crazy though? On Friday, is the CPS, the Crown Court barrister, didn't try. He really didn't try. I've never been under such little pressure in the dock in my life to any prosecutor. He just didn't try. And it's the same with jail. Is I was sat in my cell for 3 weeks, and then they came and got me and give me the best job in the jail. Yeah, I didn't go to them. These people, they know what's right. And they've obviously got jobs to do, but some of them, and I'm sure the CPS guy, he knew I was right, and he gave in and let me win on Friday.
What did the judge say on Friday? Because obviously this judge...
The judge said I'm a very naughty boy and that I shouldn't make videos or threats or the police will be at my door.
But also that it was wrong to send you away for that. He basically quashed the conviction.
Yeah, absolutely. I was vindicated. The Crown said it was a silly thing to do. I conceded that it was a silly thing to do. Like I said, I took it down off my own back under no pressure, not knowing that the police are after me about it.
Let me read some tweets quickly. Let me just take a breath there. I'll read some tweets and then we'll come back. Dion is listening to this in Denmark. I swear to God, she says that if someone got hold of my kids, I would end their life and gladly go to prison for it. You know what, Dion? That's another whole debate. I can understand that. You know, if somebody did something to you personally, you know, red-blooded, hot-blooded revenge, you can understand that. You can understand that, exactly. Martin Houston says we need to have an investigation into how the police and the judge were put up to this. This is really serious for our justice. And Martin is, of course, referring to the fact that this guy with all these images gets away scot-free and Ben is banged up.
Well, how about this guy from Eton that you told me about earlier?
Well, this is it. I mean, I mentioned this to you today. One of the stories we covered,
these sentences, they're actually a common occurrence.
Well, I'm going to make...
it's continually happening that paedophiles are getting suspended sentences.
I'm going to wind you up, my friend. I'm going to make it even worse. The guy who went to Eton, the 18-year-old called Andrew Picard, who had some of the most disturbing images ever seen by the police, ever. No. Who was given a suspended sentence. He's also going to be given a new identity.
Well, I heard that Andrew Picard was
his new identity.
Was a fake.
Not the information I have, but false. You might be right. I don't know. Yeah, and
I heard that his real identity hasn't actually been released, and they're hiding him.
Wow.
We're going by Andrew Picard, but that's not right at all, apparently.
Is that right? Well, that's not what I have, but I'm going to cede that you might very well be right on that. But yeah, some of the images he had and some of the things he was trying to induce children to do were heinous, and yet he was spared. There are people who listen to this programme who believe that this is an attempt to normalise it. By the way, remind us about the best job in the jail. I think Victoria Lilly said something to me about this. What was the job in jail that was the best job? I should have asked you this.
Don't make me talk about this, man. And it was under no means any kind of Stockholm syndrome. But they came and took me to their cafe. And I was serving the screws their dinners.
Right.
But it was a very different environment to the jail itself. They took me away from the cages.
Well, because they had sympathy for you, Ben.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. I think the CPS actually gave in. I think their barrister didn't want to win on Friday. I think there is a moral... hopefully, I would expect any human being to have some kind of moral tick-over about this.
Let me read some more tweets. Dee was on to say, good on you, Ben. If more people stood up and spoke, the world would be a better place. Alex says, yes, Richie, category A includes penetrative sex, images of sexual activity with an animal, or sadism.
I don't want to know.
Alex is talking from personal experience from the case that he was involved in. That's what category A means. That's what category A means. So one of the things that we speculated about was because you are known to the police because of your activism, because of the anti-fracking protests and demonstrations that you've taken part in.
Me.
You believe that, yeah, if it was anybody else, they might have got a kick in the arse and told stop doing that, but they wanted to bang you up.
Yeah, they want to keep me off the front lines. But they've made a massive own goal now. Now I'm able to talk about this case where and I called upon this man's resentencing. And I call upon radical reforms to see that paedophiles are not given suspended sentences. Surely their sentence must conclude to a custodial sentence. They are a part of abusing children.
Do you know, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but while you were in prison, an article was posted in the Daily Mail that said that police in Essex are trialling a new way of tackling people whom are looking at things they shouldn't look at. And amazingly enough, what they're doing is knocking on people's doors even, and saying, we know that you were looking at certain things online that you shouldn't be looking at.
Stop doing it.
Stop doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
Stop.
Please.
Have a nice day, and we'll see you again.
Yeah, please stop. Ta-ra.
That can't be right. It is right. It's what they're doing. And apparently if it's successful, they're going to roll it out across the country. Speculate then, Ben. Why are they doing that? Why are they not banging these people up?
Because it is a normalisation, and it's this whole thing with they calling abuse historic just because it's major and it's been there, it's systemic. It's in the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. It is and it's been there for decades, and they're trying to normalise it, and it's just sick and sadistic. I can't really. Do you know what I mean?
What would you do then? I mean, we talked earlier on. I believe, I don't know too much about it personally. Like you, I know people who suffered it, particularly a great friend of mine from Waterford, Derek Power, who was abused by a bishop and eventually won a big payout from the Irish government. Not that he was interested in money, he only wanted justice. But we all know somebody. What do we do with these people, Ben? We can't lock them up and throw the key away. They eventually have to come out. So where do we put them when they come out?
Do they? And well, anyone, like I said, I think these people should be getting 20 years, 25 years. And even then, after say 25 years, 20 years in jail.
What would you do to somebody who was looking at him?
You could, and I discussed this earlier.
But let me ask you this now. This is important. Let me ask you this now for a second. And I'm in no way trying to catch you out. I am really interested in your opinion. So, supposing me, Richie Allen, supposing I have looked at images of children online that I shouldn't be looking at. I haven't.
Why would you do
well,
that?
hang on a second. Well, of course I wouldn't, but just imagine I did. Now, I'm not giving them to anybody else. I'm looking at other people's images for my own gratification, which is terrible and it's sick. What's the appropriate sentence? What would be the appropriate sentence for a guy like me? Yeah.
Someone has been abused to get it there, Richie. So
yeah.
you are part of.
I'm not denying that.
But if that situation, you are part of that.
Yeah.
If there's a demand for something, then there's a supply for something.
We're in total agreement here now.
It facilitates that abuse.
We're in total agreement. I'm just interested in exploring the area of what do you do with people? What do you do with?
You give them 25 years, mate. You give them life. You lock them away. You certainly don't send them away with suspended sentences.
Well, you certainly don't send them away with suspended sentences. I can't agree with that. I agree with you. Sue was on to say they probably gave up on Ben because his case was getting so much publicity, says Sue. Sue, thanks very much for your tweet there.
I completely agree, by the way, and I can't thank people enough for the support I've had. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much.
It's amazing. I mean, when you were released on Friday, some of the newspapers picked it up. There wasn't a lot of coverage, though, when you were sentenced, so there wasn't.
No, there really wasn't.
Shamefully.
And do you know what? The newspaper article I was reading from about this paedophile, and it was published under Sarah's Law. It's completely legal, completely lawful. I just lost my temper when I was reading it out. But they've actually redacted that. So this man's sentencing, because of what I've done, has now been completely swept under the carpet. And well, there's a conspiracy in there, isn't there? The newspaper, even the newspaper, the Chester Standard has redacted his article of him being sentenced.
How must Adam Johnson, the footballer, feel, who deserves to be punished for grooming a 15-year-old girl. He's in the wrong. It's out of order. It's more than out of order. It's a bad crime, and he should get a couple of years in prison, and he should be monitored for a long time. When he comes out, how must he feel, I wonder, learning about
20 years, if you ask me.
I thought you might say that, but forgetting for a minute how long he should or shouldn't get, I think he should do some time. He's going to do some time. How must he feel learning about Andrew Picard and the guy in your case? It's absolutely... Well, you're left kind of incredulous as to how Johnson can go to jail.
Johnson will be out before you know it, you know.
I wouldn't imagine I mean, he'll probably get 5 years, and I'm reckoning he'll do 2 or 2.5.
The baby P's killers only got 2 years in the end. At the beginning, and we had to make a public outcry just to get that sentence to 5-6 years each. For killing a baby, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for brutalising a baby, yeah. Horrendous case.
And they only got 5-6 years. She's out now. And she's been rearrested and sent back for something else, do you know what I mean? And what?
Yeah.
What?
Ben, we're going to, time is against us, mate.
And this is, when I say that I'm calling upon Leon Evans resentencing, we can have this man resentenced. If you look at the Baby P case, we did get them resentenced through public outcry, and we can get this man resentenced, and we can push for reforms, because that's exactly what we need, Richie.
Ben, we're just about out of time. I'm delighted that you won your appeal on Friday. It was an outrage that you were sentenced in the first place. I really am thrilled about that. Continued success to you. I know you're going to be very active in future in the Northwest and around the country.
Around the country, for sure.
With regards to fracking and other issues, mate. Look after yourself. I suppose it's a lesson learned. It was wrong.
Do you know, Richie,
go on, I'll give you the final word and we got to wrap up then. Go ahead.
In activism, I've been arrested 14 times and found guilty just once.
Of breaching the peace or whatever it is.
Of all sorts. I've been arrested 14 times and found guilty just once in all of my activism. And it just goes to show the way protest is policed. We are targeted with charges that just don't stick.
Well, I'm glad that the magistrate who heard your case on Friday had the good sense to overturn that conviction, Ben. Look after yourself, mate. Thanks for coming on the programme. Stay in touch with us.
Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers.
Look after yourself, Ben. Bye for now. Ben Deevoy joining us on the line from his home there, released from prison, from Walton Prison, at an appeal which was heard in Warrington on Friday. Common sense prevailed in the end, but he still spent 5 weeks in prison, which couldn't have been pleasant. In fact, I think he said it wasn't pleasant for something that it was an outrage, wasn't it, really?